Sergeant Dmitry Volkov, 1st Separate Armored Division, somewhere southwest of Wuhu, April 18, 1936. It is not my position to criticize our orders, but this conflict we've been thrown into makes no sense. There are more factions around than even the locals can figure out. Entire battalions can change loyalties overnight, and nobody knows where our supply lines are going to be tomorrow, or if you can trust the group of ragtag militia that's been thrown in to hold it, not just to abandon the line once coming under fire. We've been out of fuel since yesterday, which means we've had to dismount and use our BT-7s as pillboxes. The Major has ordered recon in force by our infantry on foot back towards the city we just passed by days ago, and they've reported major concentrations of enemy troops between us and Wuhu. I've sent my driver with 2 boys to check out the villages and see if we can scrounge some fuel somewhere, but most of this place seems to be run by horse, not a tractor inside. And don't get me started on material, ammo and spare parts. Can't even remember when we've last seen a crate that didn't have Chinese writing on it. If the Major can organize some fuel, we might try another breakout over the hills east towards the coast, but hell knows what awaits us there. This place is a mess. I have no idea why we're here in the first place, and I'm starting to suspect that the brass back home has none either. Can't say that too loud, of course. With production of military goods across the nation almost coming to a standstill due to the effects of Black Monday, credit collapse and other problems inside factories, strikes and whatnot, maintaining 2 expeditionary forces across the world in theaters that are technically really not critical to our national security at this point, because whoever ends up fighting out this local civil war in between the warlords is not going to have a massive impact. I think it is time to stop the advances here, to ship our tanks back to the port, and to bring them back out. One of the major goals of this operation was to get some experience and to enact potentially some military reforms and reforms on how we maneuver, how we position. But due to the overall chaos in the military past Kornilov, none of this is coming. Most of these reports are just getting lost somewhere in the piles and are not being read or followed. So we'll retrieve the tanks for potential operations inside Europe if it comes to that. And the Afghanistan situation shows an absolute lack of the Afghani troops, of lack of interest from the Afghani troops to even engage, even in defensive positions. So Russian troops are being pushed out, and the mountain divisions are starting to have some not yet serious but notable problems with resupply from the motherland. So. I think that is potentially a theater where we will disengage as well. We'll keep the fight going here for a little bit longer and see if we can manage to stabilize the situation around Srinagar. But without active participation from the Afghani troops, I think this will be the second group that will be returned back home when it comes to that. Obviously, the political chaos in Russia isn't helping anybody, and with the popular anger boiling over due to Savinkov's actions and the whole Black Monday crisis burning, there is really not an awful lot. There's really not an awful lot that is in order inside the country. Anyway, we actually have enough naval experience. This is purely coming out of Admiral Kolchak, by the way, that we could add a spirit of academy. Is there anything that I really need at this point? No, we'll just save it up. We can add it later. Because Navy is really a very secondary part here. The other problem in Afghanistan, obviously, is that we are constantly under air attack, which is very costly in the open ground here and makes it very, very difficult to hold any territory. And there is no friendly air force anywhere in sight that could assist. And we can't bring our own aircraft over to Afghani airports due to logistical and political restrictions. So plus the Indian troops at this point have moved into Afghanistan and actually taken the forward air bases. So there's really not an awful lot we could do. I don't think the Kabul air base has the range even to support troops there. So I think before we take any further losses from these further significant losses on these divisions, it is probably going to be time to start retreating these as well and let the war play out. Afghanistan has started it, but if they refuse to participate, then there's not an awful lot we can do about it. All right, let's see if the offensive north of Srinagar is going to have any kind of potential of success. The 59th Mountain Division has been quite successfully defeated, and it looks like a concentrated attack against the 34th in the north is putting an end to the attempts to break out. We'll try to reorganize and see if we can concentrate our troops now that finally some Afghani troops at least are arriving at the front lines, or not that they're actually actively fighting, but at least they're arriving in the front lines. And we are still actually waiting to see if they will participate. Meanwhile, the land reform topic is an ongoing issue. So let's see what's new there. Plight of the farmers, so more land reform. The market fluctuations hit the countryside slower, but when they do, they hit hard. Farmers live from harvest to harvest, and right now they will not make a profit from the next harvest. Russia, much like much of Eastern Europe, has traditionally been an exporter of agricultural goods, and now local peasants and large landowners are looking at an uncertain future. Stories are being told of Ukrainian peasants burning their wheat as they cannot afford coal, and such a future may soon be in store for Russians too. The situation is not helped by SZRS-supported land banks that granted easy loans for farmers, which have now backfired on the farmers who were relying on stable harvests. Ah yes, the ever-popular microloans. So what are we? Is this the linchpin? Because we are at 7 popular anger. Is this the linchpin that is going to be the end of Savinkov? Let's see. That's making Black Monday worse, and that's making Black Monday worse and reduces the popular anger. Okay. Right. Everybody has a tough. It's not just the farmers. At least they can grow something to eat, whereas a lot of people in the city have different problems. So Savinkov's focus is on the urban population at this point, because it is where he suspects most of the dangers to come from in terms of insurrection, in terms of rebellion. The countryside is less of a concern of his, because an uprising there would, in the vast Russian landscape, really not make a difference that easily, whereas in the cities is an entirely different problem. He has been very shaken by Kornilov's coup attempt. So yeah, everyone has it tough, and that makes Black Monday even worse, which means we're now at minus 75% factory output. So our factories are basically grinding to a halt. Our factory production is starting to grind to a halt. We are at minus 98%. Which means that the situation in Afghanistan is probably about to become untenable as well. So that means, should we subject our troops to even further air attacks? And we'll dig in here for now and wait out the assaults. And see if so far no planes in the skies, but we wait out the assaults and see if we have another opportunity. But I will now actually move the whole front line, because that is not, of course, not tenable, to Srinagar, and we'll leave it to the Afghani troops to actually hold their own front lines rather than us taking care of that for them. So we'll move troops. We'll get both divisions to work in unison. For now, we are defending, but the sheer number of Indian troops available in the theater is going to make that significantly harder, obviously, as well. So we'll hold Srinagar, and we'll see if we can move north, shorten the front lines, maybe defeat that division that's been known to operate in the mountains there. And the Legation Council votes have passed. Okay, so troops moving north. and we are sending the reinforcements from the 59th in. The tanks are on the way back to Russia for potential future conflicts, but right now the army is simply not in the shape to run any kind of large-scale operations. Yeah, and the Afghani troops are now starting to finally trickle in and defend their own borders. So that's good. Taken them long enough. Let's see if we can. They're sending some divisions south. Let's see if we can hold Srinagar. That's going to be the big question here. With the 34th not having, I don't think they had time to dig in just yet. Yeah, they haven't had time. So they're just. It is getting quite warm there, and they have storms raging. So that doesn't help anybody. But we'll see. We'll see if we can make a hold at Srinagar and then push north. Meanwhile, in Bulgaria, the Tsardom of Bulgaria, one of Germany's allies in the Weltkrieg, has been seen as a stable hegemon of the Balkans. Oh yeah, that's going to go off. For the past 2 decades. In truth, however, the nation has withdrawn to internal affairs, going from political crisis to political crisis, and this year these internal tensions have culminated in a showdown between 3 separate political forces. The Petorka, an alliance of political parties seeking to defend the Bulgarian constitution, has come out on top, forcing the monarchy to abandon numerous authoritarian acts and amend the constitution to allow for a truly constitutional monarchy in Bulgaria. That is a good model. That is sort of what we're going for in Russia as well, reversing a long trend of authoritarianism. We will see if that lasts, but interesting. So Bulgaria, which we are not necessarily a friend of, but Bulgaria might be an interesting case for this sort of government model. Anyway, back to Afghanistan, where we are sending reinforcements into Srinagar, and I think we will be able to hold back this. So with 2 divisions, we should be able to hold back this assault here. Newly arrived 59th is there, and they do have quite a bit more firepower than the other ones. So and Afghani forces have actually arrived as well with the 3rd Cavalry. So that's good, which means we can probably stop defending this salient and start attacking north, and then see if we can clear the northern border here. But things in Russia are going sideways, obviously. So where are we going to look at today? Let's look at Petrograd and then see what's going on. The Vozhd is questioned. The SZRS is a patchwork party, one that has integrated various far-right groups and has always been more united behind ideas than concrete policies. It is worrisome that Savinkov's popularity has plummeted so much that there is dissent even in the party. Oh, we're starting to see the first cracks. Particularly noteworthy was Yuri Kuchnikov, I think it is, who leads the Kazan chapter of the SZRS, addressed to the Vozhd, signed by multiple southern chapters. They express worry over Moscow's politics in Cossack and Muslim regions. Actually, we'll probably look at this area here. They express worry over Moscow's policies in Cossack and Muslim regions and fear that these policies are merely increasing popular unrest. What's the resistance situation? We're going down. Our resistance target is 0, so that's good. We are going down. And fear that these policies are merely increasing popular unrest and crystallizing opposition against the party. Even this kind of careful criticism is not taken well in the Kremlin, but when a significant amount of party chapters express their worry, there needs to be at least some action. Okay, who can we blame for this? We can reduce. We can blame Dikov for this whole thing, and it will reduce popular anger, or we can spend 5 stability to. We can stay stubborn, and we'll spend 5 stability. Now, I really do not wish to spend 5 space stability on that, but we're also looking to get Savinkov ousted and start our own reforms rather than whatever he has in store, in order to deal with the crisis. So I am tempted to. Yeah, I think we are going to. We are going to bite the bullet and take the 5% base stability. Should we though? 5% is a big number on stability, and we're already base down to 15%. And I don't think we're going to get that back easily. And this is having significant impacts already. I mean, we're at minus 19% stability. We could give in, blame him, and that would shift the balance, which is over here. So we've got the this actually, I'm not sure. I think they're basically two factions between in here. I'm not sure which one's which, but this would this would shift the balance towards one faction inside the SZRS, which I don't really care about an awful lot. More interested in the whole popular anger thing. But yeah, I don't think I would like to spend 5% base stability. So we will let him blame Dick of Derenthal, and he is. We don't want to get him to be suspicious that that everything is in one way. So we'll go with that. That'll reduce the popular anger down to 6, which is very concerned still, and we will see how things play out from there. But at least we haven't lost the stability. However, the popularity of the SZRS is on historical lows at this point. All right. Back here. Okay, so we are now launching an offensive north from Srinagar, leaving the defense, hopefully at some point, to the Afghani cavalry, if they can actually manage to join, and we will try to break through the 6th Pune division that is up in the north, and see if we can manage to push across the river, clear out the northern front lines, and see if the Afghanis can actually hold their southern lines here, because they have been breaking quite aggressively. There don't even seem to be any enemy troops in the area, so no idea what they're doing there, honestly. But we will see how this goes. Anyway, anything while we are watching the breaking of this division, and yes, this isn't going to work well because we are both defending still, but I want to use the opportunity, and I think we are now. No, we're still on the defense in the counterattacks here, but we'll leave that to the Afghani troops in Srinagar, and see if we can. Oh, they've reinforced in the north. That is unfortunate, and that means probably we've got an enemy cavalry division coming in, but I think they have been. They've been pushed out. They have been pushed out before we could. Before the cavalry could manage to join the fight. So we have taken the high ground in the mountains. Srinagar is holding for now, and the Afghanis are finally launching a southern offensive here. So there might still be hope yet for this whole affair. We are sending the 34th north in order to cut off the Camel Corps that is sitting there in the mountains. Which is now counterattacking, seeing the danger here, but that is not going to help them. So the volunteers have returned from Petrograd, and we'll deal with them. They can rejoin the European theater once now that they're back. And that means we will then eventually reintegrate them where they need to be, but for now they can get some rest. All right, still got the 34th moving northwards, while the 59th is holding the line here against a very, very weak counterattack. More Indian pushes into Afghani territory, but that is a relatively defensible. Now they are near Peshawar, so that Peshawar needs to hold. But it looks like the Afghani troops are once again not maintaining the front lines here, but we have managed to break through. So let's get this division under fire. I know that the 59th has to attack across the river, but they can't move out from there, otherwise the northern forces will be cut off. At least we have now encircled the Camel Corps, and we will see if we can manage to destroy that at least one division while the front lines remain very fluid. What are these troops doing? What are these troops even doing there? That militia division makes no sense. Defend the line. So Afghani troops, very unorganized, very little cohesion, and big problems in maintaining a general front line. Anyway, we had one of the industrial researches done. I am thinking, I'm kind of tempted to go dispersed here. My traditional approach for the Soviet Union would obviously be concentrated, but we'll stick with concentrated. There we go. Concentrated it is. That's the path I have chosen. And we have the Kievan kerfuffle. The breakaway region here in the south, ruler of the de facto protectorate of Khiva, the backward Turkmen warlord Junaid Khan has long rejected our generous guidance of his rump state, instead attacking brave Russian sons in Ashgabat and Krasnovodsk at the height of the Tashkent crisis. It does not take a genius to recognize that Khiva will never truly serve us as a loyal subordinate. He is a dog who has bit his master once. The only reasonable course of action is to put him down. Instead, the weak governments of Rudnev and Maklakov rewarded this mad dog with recognition of his illegal control over Transcaspia and the abandonment of any real Russian dominion over the Khivans. This embarrassing course of action has been spearheaded by our leading agent in Khiva, the Kornilovite General Ivan Zaitsev, who has gone native, aligning himself with Junaid Khan at the expense of his homeland. To rectify these mistakes, we moved to force Zaitsev out, blackmailing him with dubious charges of corruption. He has been replaced with a more trustworthy court advisor, General Vasily Ivanovich Morozov. In response, Junaid Khan has placed General Morozov into glorified house arrest, restricting him from leaving the old city of Khiva or interacting with the Russian-sponsored Khiva military school. Junaid Khan's brazen acts have threatened to dismember our informal control over the region, and our remaining agents in Khiva report that he intends to strengthen ties with the rogue Turkestani Republic. This one. Without the full support and control of the military, an intervention into Khiva over Junaid Khan's provocations would be dangerous and difficult indeed, because if I am going to look at the supply situation, I think we will very quickly learn that there isn't any. So yes, that would be indeed difficult. Instead, our agents within the Khanate have proposed that we provide clandestine support for the imprisoned Khivan Khan, who, if restored to power through a coup, would certainly prove to be a more pliable puppet. In the meantime, we will have to swallow our pride and ignore the mad dog in Khiva, lest we provide him with any more popular support in acting against him. So we will need to prepare a coup. Khiva has temporarily slipped out of our grasp, so I'm assuming that this would be this would have been puppets that we had under our control previously, and that's no longer the case. So once we reassert our dominion, they will return under our control. Okay, let's prepare a coup. That is what we should be doing. Costs political power, which we don't have, but yeah, that is the name of the game. Okay, we are still working on the Voshkod program, which sounded like public works in order to get things moving. All right. The encircled Camel Corps is being attacked from both directions here, while the 59th has to actually hold back against enemy attacks. But the 34th is becoming very exhausted now from continuing operations. Meanwhile, in Russia, many important developments. Let's begin with the Orthodox Church. The Russian Orthodox Church, like much of Russia, has endured the 20th century more than it has lived it. Caught in a seemingly endless web of debates regarding episcopal, monastic, and parish reforms, the Church has navigated the treacherous waters of war and revolution. We do need the religious, the Church on our side for this whole affair. That needs to be a cornerstone of the country. but never smoothly. Even the triumphant revival of the Moscow Patriarchate in 1917 was not spared from controversy. Patriarch Tikhon earned a deserved reputation as an able leader in the tragedy of the civil war, but his allegedly liberal attitudes prompted a reaction that bore fruit in the subsequent election of Patriarch Anthony. After Tikhon's passing in 1925, Patriarch Anthony, a firebrand of the episcopal faction, wasted no time in riling up confrontation, first by attempting to make all parishes commemorate the Romanov dynasty in their prayers rather than the more neutral civil authorities, and later, I like this guy already, and later by adamantly refusing to cooperate with any land reform. Okay, that might be a little bit more of an issue. The souring of church-state relations has seen opposition to Antony coalesce around Metropolitan Sergei of Nizhny Novgorod, a moderate with the history of social welfare activism, and who has likewise drawn moderate clerics and Lalti? Not sure what that is. Though this schism within the church is rarely discussed openly, lay ministers maybe? Where was I? Though this schism within the church is rarely discussed openly, the intensity has grown stronger as Antony's declining health makes a new patriarchal elections likely in the near future. With this in mind, many members of the Sergian faction have approached the SZRS for support, both out of practical concern for mending relations with the government, but in many cases out of genuine belief in the Svobodnik's mission. The bishops themselves are unlikely to change their dislike of Savinkov, but with additional help, the SZRS could expand its influence among parishes with little difficulty. This, in turn, would ensure the Sergian priests are nominated and open an avenue through which to influence the broader church. The Sergians seem set on supporting the SZRS one way or another, but how much Savinkov is willing to sacrifice to return the favor remains to be seen. Okay, so let's see here. So I could get we could work with this faction, gain some influence and gain some stability back, but it will reduce popular anger even further. But I think we will take it. We'll take the 3% base stability, or whatever they have to offer. We'll take, but Savinkov is not going to go get into the church too much, get involved with the church too much. All right. This one is probably a little more critical. Citizen Romanovs. The current claimant to the Russian throne, albeit only in the minds of the monarchists, is former Grand Prince, now common citizen Kirill Vladimirovich Romanov. After the death of the Tsar's grandson Nikolai, Kirill, who is the first cousin of the Tsar, became the de facto heir. After the sore disappointment of the monarchists in 1921, as the monarchy was indeed not restored, they have been reasonably conciliatory. Cyril himself has been known as the Republican Tsar due to siding with the February revolutionaries early on and his subsequent support for the Republic if it is the will of the people. Kirill's son Vladimir is the darling of the press. Young and handsome, he represents the very epitome of the modern royal of the 1930s. Vladimir delights in Russia's vibrant cultural life, taking part in motor racing competitions, and is a common host of charity events. It reminds me of a certain German prince we've dealt with. Many of these also serve as a vehicle for politics, as the prince is a much bolder proponent of monarchism than his humble and moderate father is. It is Vladimir's strong personality that gives Russian monarchists hope. Savinkov's ascension has created problems for the Romanovs. Savinkov has nothing but distaste for them, but hasn't yet dared to move against them, or just doesn't even consider them a threat. It does not help that many grassroots Svobodniks do not share Savinkov's hate of the monarchy. Quite the contrary, they hold even a rose-tinted view of the Romanovs as martyrs of the civil war. Kirill has withdrawn from what few public appearances he did before, and the worsening political situation has given even Vladimir pause. Despite his initial statements claiming Savinkov is putting the Republic in order, he has since rebuked any attempts by SZRS figures to gain official approval from him. Whispers are that the Romanovs have been drafting plans to leave the country on short notice should it come to the worst. So we have two options. We can exile them, or we can just ignore them. And this is a relatively critical junction, because if you remember, the secret brotherhood that is pulling the strings here is very much ordered to protect whatever remains of the Romanovs if we are to restore any kind of figureheads that could unify the country. And as it's said here, even the Swobodniks, so even Savinkov's own party, very much on the ground still believes in sort of the leadership and the symbolism of the old monarchy. So we will convince Savinkov that he can safely ignore the Romanovs. It would be unwise to exile them in order not to rile up his ground support in his own party at this juncture. So we'll do that, which is further eroding. I'm even having trouble finding it. Further eroding the popularity of the SZRS, which obviously also is having impacts on Savinkov's overall political power. However, he doesn't necessarily know that, because the reports he receives about popular support can be forged. All right, let's get back to Afghanistan. In fact, before we look at Afghanistan, let's see what they're doing here. It looks like the front lines have somewhat stabilized, and they can fight this out over there. We'll see who ends up winning. But we are with Afghanistan. We're purely fighting out of self-interest here. Now we do need to get this. Camel Corps defeated sooner rather than later, because the 59th is under consistent attacks from Indian troops, and the lines are becoming a little more fluent now that Pakistan is finally operating. But there are, I think, some French divisions here. Not the syndicalist French, the traditional French, which might become a bit of a problem. So they're already almost in Kandahar. So we shall see how this all works out. Anyway, meanwhile in Argentina, there's been a coup in Buenos Aires. Okay, yeah, that may be as it seems. Argentina is a trading partner of Germany. So if there is a war breaking out there, it might be in our interest to counter Argentina's expansion if that becomes an issue. But we shall see how this turns out. Anyway, for now, we really need to complete the action here, because I am going to have to. Otherwise, I will have to stop this. Oh, they're counterattacking on both sides here. Yeah, we need to finish off this division before the counterattacks are causing the break of the encirclement here. They are trying very hard to counterattack us in the mountains. The rear guards are doing their best to hold them off. But overall, I think we will be able to get that division destroyed. Okay, we have destroyed that division. We'll hold the line here. We've cleared the territory, so at least we have managed to cause some losses. Now, can we? We are about to lose Srinagar. Yes, that is not good. We could redeploy south and try to clear out the southern positions. But I think the lines are very fluent there, and we're probably more needed as firefighters here in the north. Where do we have we'll return to Srinagar and see if we can see if we have an opportunity here to potentially push south and encircle and destroy another Indian division. But I don't think even Srinagar is potentially holding that long. So let's see. No rest for the troops. The equipment city, yeah, Srinagar has already fallen. Counterattack has failed. So we'll wait for some reinforcements. But it looks like the Afghanis could not hold the line here. At least they're clearing out the French incursion. They're near Kandahar. That's already something. But we might be able to effect a counterattack, because the Indians are they've broken out actually here already. Okay, that's unfortunate. That removes the opportunity to destroy a division near Peshawar. So that unfortunately removes that opportunity. We are holding. We are trying to retake Srinagar, but we are getting counterattacked now from multiple directions. So let's defeat that counterattack, and then we will launch another push towards Srinagar and see if we can retake that town, which opens up potential. Which opens up a potential in the south. I don't want to redeploy here right now because I don't trust the Afghanis to hold the line here at all. I don't think they'll be capable of that. Addressing the shortages. As Russia's economy continues to buckle and contract, the public demand for government relief has only grown louder. Hopes are high that President Savinkov, elected as he was on a populist platform, will be willing to intervene on the common people's behalf, no matter the budgetary troubles. Several plans have been prepared for an immediate injection of funds into social welfare programs. That said, the elephant in the room is that these funds can only come from one place on such short notice: the military budget. The army is, unsurprisingly, mortified that their long-awaited rearmament program is going to be reshuffled into soup kitchens. Their assertion is that the army is what is still keeping order in Russia isn't entirely incorrect either. The government can try to appease both, but party officials are warning that such a course will be ruinously expensive. So we have a few options here. Now, of course, Savinkov, after the failed coup of Kornilov, is very much afraid of the army, and more so than of his base, despite the fact that there is a lot of public anger. So we can divert funds from the military to alleviate the shortage. Or we can, this will cost us 10% war support, or we can just leave the funds with the army. We do what we can to aid both, or we can draw on a lot of on all kinds of emergency funds. Now we are looking at increasing the popular anger, so I think in this case we'll take the 10% war support. That will appease the military, and it's going to be relatively easy to convince Savinkov that while there is a need to support the public, the government is more at risk from an armed forces uprising and yet another coup. So that will appease the military, but increase the popular anger. There we go. Now we are back at 7. We are trying to get to 8. The army is neutral at this point, however. So there we are. All right. Back to the fighting in Afghanistan, where we are trying to retake Srinagar, which is actually more difficult than it seems, especially if the reserves are coming in. And consistent counterattacks by Indian forces are going to make that significantly harder than it needs to be. So I don't think we can hold Srinagar, to be honest. Let's shorten the front lines here, and because we are being assaulted from multiple sides here. So we'll have to defeat that counterattack first. Retaking Srinagar may actually not be in our best interest, to be honest, because we don't really have a staging ground from there for a larger encirclement, since we simply don't have the troops to make this happen. We could try to push. No, we have no support from the Afghanis. They are barely holding the front line together as it is. Best we can probably do is just defend against the Indian incursions and make sure that we're not getting cut off. But what we eventually need to achieve is a breakout where we can encircle and destroy some more Indian divisions, like the one we took out here. 6,000 troops have surrendered, but Not an awful lot else. Okay, so they are reinforcing Srinagar now. They're attacking from all directions, and they are retaking the northern position here. That is actually quite interesting. We have to be somewhat careful not to be cut off here, honestly. So I might... it still doesn't offer an opportunity to encircle these troops, but we might actually have to fall back... Especially that the Afghanis are now falling back as well here. We are somewhat at risk. We'll hold the position north of Srinagar for now. But okay, we have defended the counterattack. Can we, from here on, cut off and destroy the 3rd Lahore Division? Probably not, because they will. We would have to move all the way north, and there's no supply. And the Afghanis are holding the position here, so we have no good opportunity to destroy. We might just launch a... we're definitely going to be staying here. We might just launch a counterattack against Srinagar, see if we can retake that position, but we don't really have anybody to go from there. Still, it's some operational opportunity. So let's at least run the counterattack and see if we can manage to defeat these two somewhat exhausted Indian divisions and push them back out again from Srinagar. But where do we go from there? I am not entirely certain. And the Afghani lines are getting thinner. So jockeying for position here and looking for opportunities to destroy Indian troops is pretty much the name of the game. But yeah, Peshawar looks like it's going to be coming under concentrated attacks. If Peshawar falls, then the whole northern flank is collapsing. And of course, immediate counter-attacks from all directions. We will see if we can keep the momentum going to Srinagar, but we'll get the 34th on the defense. And we'll see if the 59th alone can manage to destroy these two. But they are starting to run seriously out of equipment here. I think this is probably the last offensive action we're going to be running here, because I just don't see how we can make further movements without material support. We might just fall back and see if we can at least hold near Peshawar in a defensive action here, and see what we can get done there. Anyway, back to Russia. Savinkov, in the face of increasing popular opposition, even though he doesn't really know that much, still is believing in his approach of national populism, or national narodism. Stems from the Narodniks of the 19th century, and social revolutionaries finally becoming the defining ideology of the SZRS. Through the decades, men and methods have varied, but our uniting belief is the strength and will of the Russian peasant has not wavered. What do we believe in? We believe in the people, not the democracy, and that is where Savinkov is going astray, because there are just too many different ideas pulling together here. Tsarism, liberalism, and Marxism do not stem from Russian people. They are the ideas of elites and tyrants. It is the community of free Russian peasants that forms the heart and soul of Third Russia. Mentioning that. What do we believe in? We believe in an undivided and indivisible Russian civilization, one that is of spirit and will and of great fate. We believe in a great union of free people under the Third Russia, and opposition to capitalist and imperialist oppression of nations. So it's sort of communism minus the communist bit. Like, we don't like capitalism, and we don't like oppression, but at the same time we're claiming to be for the peasant and by the peasant and through the peasant, but the only thing that comes out of that is dictatorship. What do we believe in? We believe in the vozhd, the leader, on every level of society. We believe in untiring loyalty to the Russian cause and exceptional individuals tasked to bring it into reality. Yes, it's dictatorship, with cult of personality sprinkled in. What do we believe in? We believe in deeds, not words. Change comes through action, power comes through will. Man has no greater cause but to kill and to die for the Russian cause. And most of all, we believe in victory, in Russia unshackled, in its people prosperous and brave, who will inherit the land. We are reforming the land right now. So he said a lot, but he's also really hasn't said anything, except for, I want to be the absolute dictator of this place, and please follow me. So yeah, that is not happening. We have a little bit of political power, but it's not that there's much we can actually do about this, because we are not having, we're not yet having anything to do with the stranglehold of the German capital. We're almost complete with the Voskhod program, however. But I am starting to be tempted to take a defensive stance in Afghanistan, if it comes to that, and to just dig in here, because we are running extremely out of material, and wait for an opportunity to destroy some more Indian troops there. However, meanwhile, the farmers are striking, and with the first hurdles overcome, the land reform campaign has built powerful momentum. Many Russian newspapers have taken to publishing daily columns totaling the acreage of land given to peasants thus far, alongside letters of thanks to President Savinkov and the SZRS. However, for every success story, it seems another village's problems have only gotten worse. Yeah, he's only getting the good news. To no one's great surprise, the field consolidation and migration programs remain the most controversial issues. Out of respect for their independence, the villages themselves were given oversight of much of the process, but many disgruntled peasants have simply stopped bothering to listen to them any longer. Worse yet, anger against the reforms has begun to coalesce into open strikes. Farmers and landless peasants alike have banded together to decry the government's alleged kulakization of the countryside, stating that efforts to make farms economically viable have trumped promises to give all peasants a fair share of land. Now, Savinkov is not wrong there. You can't just have tiny subsistence farms all over the place if you're trying to modernize the country. The situation is tense, though violence has fortunately not yet broken out. Nevertheless, much of Russia's central Black Earth region has been paralyzed by the strikes, jeopardizing much-needed shipments of grain. Loyal units of the MVD and Cossacks are trying their best to restore order without resorting to bloodshed. The party cannot afford another Tambov. And that increases popular anger by 1, which I think brings us over the limit there, and we lose another 4% base stability. So with that, I think we are, yes, we've got the popular anger at 8, but at least the army isn't going to overthrow. But I think the people at this point have had enough of Savinkov and his failed attempts. So we will see where that leads, probably relatively soon. And I think with that, we'll be ending the episode once that happens. And while we are still fighting in India and attempting to hold, and I think we will. Can we break this? We are running a little low. Oh, we are running very low on supply here, actually. They are pretty weak, but okay. The Voskhod program has been completed. I think we'll leave it on a cliffhanger, actually, and see if the public anger will eventually boil over. And this is 8 or more public anger, yes. All right, so let's see. In return, we have the Voskhod. Okay, we do need to stop the. Don't forget, we do need to stop the attacks here. We have no opportunity to launch any more offensive operations in Afghanistan due to supply shortages and lethargy on the Afghani side. But we do have the Voskhod program. Now, what has Savinkov cooked up here now? Since Russia was first hit by Black Monday, several efforts have been made to deal with the crisis. Few would doubt that these have been effective. The economy dealt with the worst effects of the depression and is now speeding up along the road to full recovery. But this, I would disagree. Yeah, that's not full recovery, and it's not speeding along the road either. Where are we? Despite the government's efforts, many problems remain, more than a few of which predate the crash. The landless and unemployed wander Russia in search of work, and are very angry at Savinkov, while much of the countryside, the Republican government's failed land reform holds back the country's full potential. The biggest of these problems lies with Russian industry, or rather the lack thereof. Compared to the modern and industrialized states of Europe, Russia is pitifully backward. Yes, result of losing the Weltkrieg, then running through a civil war, and then having basically German capital controlling everything, and just bleeding the place dry. Where was I? Put simply, there are too many men and too few factories. In 1935, we are trying to do something about it, but not under these conditions, we are not. In 1935, the SZRS announced the Voskhod program to industrialize Russia and solve our economic woes. The program was put on hold because of Black Monday, but now that we've recovered from the crisis, I still debate that fact, the time is right to restart it. Landless farmers, unemployed workers, and vagrants will all be enlisted, into a professional army of labor. Okay, so we'll round up the people who have nothing better to do into forced labor camps, ready to serve the state and wage an all-out war against the backwardness which has plagued Russia for so long. In addition to the rapid industrialization promised as part of the Voskhod program, plans are also in the works to handle issues of excess population through a program of massive resettlement in Siberia and Turkestan. So we're effectively proposing to round up everybody who's unemployed into forced labor, and whoever is left that we can't employ into forced labor, we'll send them over there. Yeah. Good plan. That is a great plan, and I am sure nothing can possibly go wrong with that great plan. Where was I? Pioneers will construct new communities. It's the East, through which they can earn land and produce food to feed our ever-growing population. All of this will be administered through the VES, which can finally shift its focus from dealing with the depression. Of course, the general reaction from the public has been overwhelmingly positive so far. There's no doubt the program will continue to raise support for the SZRS and Savinkov's rule. After all, how could anyone be against such a patriotic plan? We look forward to the fruits of their labor. Yes, I think a lot of this was somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but this is actually what Savinkov believes, that this is a good thing and what we've done here. So this opens up the Voskhod projects. So the Voskhod program is designed to hold Russia in the 20th century, kicking and screaming, using the one resource it has plenty of, people. The government will conscript its pool of young, able-bodied, unemployed men and put them to work. It is a patriotic endeavor, but must be handled with caution. Yes, because they might disagree. This is a resource that is not without its limits, even in Russia. Okay, so what can we do here? So we actually have... Oh, this is interesting. So this would... this actually modifies the Black Monday system. I'm not sure if this project will survive the deposition of Savinkov, but... let's have a quick look. So all of these are improving the Black Monday. I'm going to run it. We'll see. We'll see what we get out of it. All of these are improving the Black Monday system. So we've got currently 80,000 people rounded up at gunpoint and ready to work. So we can probably just deploy all of them somewhere. What's the best one to use? So that's 1 civilian, 1 infrastructure, 10 steel. I don't think we're short on steel. Not really. I mean, you can never have enough steel, but not currently. I really don't need naval dockyards. Two civilian factories, that'd be nice. 1 civilian factory and a building slot and 12 steel. Okay. 2 civilians. And this is 24, that's a military factory and 24 steel in Vladikavkaz. I think I'll take the 2 civilian factories. I'm not sure if we can actually complete this, but let's begin with the Moscow-Volga Canal. That's where we are going to deploy the people. We can utilize the army. Basically, we're getting 80,000 soldiers from the available manpower pool, and then run, that is going to anger the army. This would be, this one we cannot run because we need, because it's currently active. And this one we cannot run because we don't have the political power. Okay, so that's running. What's still available here? Oh, that's the utilizing the army. No, we don't want to antagonize the army any further at this point. So now that that's through, we have a few more projects that we can work on. But I think the first one I'm going to go is the urban housing program, because that improves the whole Black Monday situation. The other thing we could do as well is to start working on working on removing the German influence. For that, we would need the Vilnius to renege the Vilnius Agreement, which is over here. So that's two 35-day ones. So the first one would create the Moscow Accord, and then we could end the Vilnius Agreement, and we could start working on the German influence here. Alternatively, we have another. This would 35 days. This would be a Black Monday modifier, so that's also quite useful. So I think that is somewhat faster. So I think we're going to do that first, and then probably work towards ending the Vilnius Agreement and to deal with the German capital. Corporatists are on the rise, which is reducing the amount of political power we're getting. Okay, I think that is going to. So the tensions inside the SRS are hopefully going to become not so relevant anymore once. If everything works out as planned. So we'll start with the urban housing program, and then to mollify the public. And then we will see in the next episode if Savinkov can hold himself to power much longer.